Virtual presentations can be extremely engaging if you use these 5 tips I'm about to share with you. My name's Kyle Mercer. I help people speak with more confidence and impact. And with my business, I've literally delivered hundreds of virtual presentations to audiences nearby, to audiences on other continents, to audiences all over the globe, young, old, and everything in between. So I know what it takes to hold their attention, even though they've got multiple distractions around them. And so my first tip for you is to be different. And what I mean by that is instead of doing the usual of hopping on a PowerPoint and then just going through the virtual presentation like everyone else does, be different. Stand up, for instance. If you stand up in a virtual presentation, instantly you are different than what people usually do. It'll also be better for your speaking because you'll have better breathing and so forth. You'll be able to gesture and move around more. That will make you different. Also, instead of going for slides, I like to go for props. If I've got a key point, for instance, if I want to talk about the hook and the importance of that in a presentation, I'm going to hold up this little card because it's different instead of just going on a PowerPoint like everyone else does. You can find your own ways to be different in this virtual environment, but you have to be willing to look for them. Tip number 2, make friends with the lens. I truly can't believe it. At the time of recording this video, it's been over 4 years since the pandemic, yet everyone is still not looking at the camera. Instead, they're looking at the screen. And when I look at the screen like I am now, it immediately makes my presentation less engaging because I'm not actually making eye contact with my audience, as opposed to now, there's a huge difference. Now you feel like I'm looking at you. Now you feel like I'm speaking to you. And look, I understand why people want to look down. They want to see what's going on with their audience and so forth. And I'm not saying you should never look down. You do need to check on those guys now and again. But think of it as an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, be looking at your lens, making eye contact with your audience. And then 20%, look down to see what's going on there. It's imperative that you make friends with the lens, otherwise the engagement level is going to drop in your presentation. Tip 3, keep the window active. There is nothing worse in a virtual presentation than someone who stays still the entire time and just is a talking head like this. That instantly makes a presentation less engaging because our brain sees it and thinks, I know how this is going to go. There's nothing surprising here. I will switch off. The way we keep our audience's minds and brains switched on is by creating variety on the screen, by keeping the screen active. That means using gestures while we're speaking to keep it active. That means moving around the screen if we're standing up. That means hopping into a PowerPoint and then out of a PowerPoint to create variety for our audience. The more active we can keep this window, the more likely our audience is to pay attention. And speaking of attention, tip number 4 will force your audience to pay attention. And that is to involve your audience. I'm a big fan of that quote by Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I'll forget. Teach me and I'll remember. But involve me and I'll learn. And this couldn't be more true online. And the beautiful thing is we've got so many different tools on here that we can use to interact with our audience. Some easy interactions are getting them to type something in the chat, getting them to fill out an opinion poll. Some more advanced interactions are doing breakout rooms with our audience members or getting them to unmute and actually speak and answer questions in our presentation. The key thing is that you don't just speak at the audience for the entire time, because I can guarantee no matter how engaging your voice, your body language, and all these things are, they will switch off unless you get them to do something. Now, tip number 5 will help you pull off all of the 4 previous tips we've spoken about, and that is to practice on the platform. There is nothing worse than watching a presenter try and open up a PowerPoint and have no idea what they're doing. And speakers make mistakes online because they don't practice on the platform. Whether it be Teams or Zoom, you need to take some time before your presentation to go onto that platform in a room by yourself and practice delivering your presentation, pretending that the audience are there. Literally practice sharing your slides, practice doing the opinion polls, practice asking the audience to type things in the chat. And the cool thing is, when you're on that platform, you can also record your practices. You can watch it back and you can see how you find it from an audience's perspective. Now, if you want more in-depth details about how to practice a presentation in general, check out this video here. If you do all the things in this video, it's almost guaranteed that your presentation will go the way you planned it to. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this, and I hope you now know how to present online more effectively.